Hey everybody, it's PartyElite with another online battle today. I field the Skaven against Indypride's High Elves in a minor settlement battle just outside Evershale. If you don't already follow Indypride's YouTube channel, make sure you check the link out in the description below and give him a sub. Alright, as always we're going to start with a conversation about deployment and composition, and as you can see, and as is pretty obvious, I guess the Skaven have a much larger army than the High Elves. So let's take a look at what I've brought to the field here. You'll see in command I have a Warlord atop a Bonebreaker alongside an Assassin, and the front line consists of 2 units of Clan Rats with shields ranked up to help their leadership, with the Skaven Slaves taking up the center, supported by these anti-infantry Plague Monks right behind them. Then at the back we do have 2 units of Clan Rat Spears with shields, as well as this 1 unit of Storm Vermin with halberds. Either flank is bolstered by a unit of Rat Ogres apiece, while the right flank is bolstered by the beloved A-Bomb, the Hell Pit Abomination, and the right flank does have a Doom Wheel. Meanwhile, all the way back here, we do also have a Plague Claw Catapult, able to fire away right from the get-go from atop this hill. Let's take a look at what the High Elves have brought to the field. You'll see they are being commanded by Teclis today over here, and we do also have 4 units of Lothern Sea Guard, 2 units of White Lions of Shrace with their armor-piercing capabilities, 2 units of Sword Masters of Hoeth, armor-piercing and anti-infantry, a unit of Spearmen able to shut down large support units that I might bring, and we have a Flamespire Phoenix over here as well, and all the way off to the side, these Dragon Princes tucked away in the trees, but they started deployed, not hidden. So I actually spotted them. I think they were looking to try and shut down my catapult, because Indypride was able to see my deployment because we're fighting a minor settlement battle, and he positioned them there, I think, to hopefully cut these guys off nice and early, but I spotted them shifting myself off to the side there as the Plague Claw Catapult does fire away, trying to take care of some of these Lothern Sea Guard nice and early, take care of that enemy ranged capability, but you'll see I do start to push forward. Of course, I cannot just stand back waiting to get shot. I do have some shielded units as well, and that's exactly why you'll see my units largely have shields, just to make sure they don't suffer as poorly against that ranged fire as it comes in. You'll see these Skaven Slaves here dying by the dozen. Over here as well, these Clan Rats with shields are eating a fair bit of damage, and very quickly the Lothern Sea Guard do actually decide to start targeting the Rat Ogres off on the right here. Definitely a better call. These guys are a more threatening unit, a good idea to shut them down when possible. Meanwhile, the Plague Claw Catapult does get a decent hit here, trying to shut down the Lothern Sea Guard, while I do have my Doom Wheel coming in from the side, and you'll notice front lines are about to engage. So over here, my Clan Rats with shields are trying to push through and engage the Spearmen, while my Plague Monks will hopefully engage the White Lions of Shrace, and the Skaven Slaves will hopefully pin them in place. Meanwhile, these Skaven Slaves are pushing through as well, while off to the side here, I'm trying to get my Doom Wheel to push in and shut down the Lothern Sea Guard, or maybe plow into some of these Spearmen and break that line, but unfortunately, the High Elves do cast the Net of a Mintok, holding that Doom Wheel in place, making sure it's not able to do what I need it to do. Meanwhile, that range support does come in off to the side here as I beat away at the Sword Masters of Hoeth. You'll see the Rat Ogres are being shot up, quite badly hurt, while the Flamespire Phoenix does get involved as well, diving into the Plague Monks there temporarily, using Wake of Fire to cause a decent bit of damage, and obviously able to cause fear and terror as well. Meanwhile, over here we do have the Warlord as well as the Assassin pushing through. I do want them to get through into Teclis and try and shut him down, take care of enemy leadership, while you'll see the Plague Claw Catapult as well, firing away at these Lothern Sea Guard, doing a decent amount of damage. Over here, meanwhile, you'll see the Dragon Princes are being pounced upon by the Rat Ogres here, intercepting their charge, belly flopping into their path. Quite effective a technique, I have to say, and trying to shut these guys down as they are giving up on chasing after the Plague Claw Catapult. Meanwhile, you'll see the Doom Wheel does get pinned down a little bit by those Dragon Princes, while over here we do have Flock of Doom going down as my Hell Pit Abomination dives in, taking a fair bit of damage. That damage is spreading across a lot of units, though, and you'll see the Flamespire Phoenix did decide to dive in and is causing a lot of trouble for my Plague Monks. I was hoping these guys would get a lot of work done, but unfortunately, very quickly being taken care of, having only killed 3 units. Meanwhile, you'll see off to the side here, the White Lions of Shrace are doing wonderfully against my Skaven Slaves, of course, and the Plague Monks as well, while over here, again, chasing after Teclis with the Warlord and the Assassin, hoping to shut Teclis down, using both Rival High Talisman and Trophy Heads to shut his melee attack and defense down to 0, but unfortunately, my troops get caught up in this unit of Lothern Sea Guard. So an unfortunate situation there for myself as I try to give chase, but you'll see the Warlord here is going to beat away at these guys, not have too much trouble, while the Doom Wheel here continues to give pursuit to some of these Lothern Sea Guard here. The Hell Pit Abomination comes flying through. In comes the Doom Wheel as well, trying to shut these guys down once and for all, while the Warlord now once again gets caught up, this time by the Dragon Princes. Meanwhile, the Plague Claw Catapult here providing some support against the White Lions of Shrace. They might be strong, but they're not strong against that massive artillery damage that's coming through right now, providing some support to the Skaven Slaves, hoping they'll actually maybe come out on top in this engagement. Meanwhile, you'll see the Assassin having a field day against the Lothern Sea Guard there, taking care of them, terrifying them off, while the Doom Wheel here is plowing through some of these Sword Masters of Hoeth, again hoping to get rid of them once and for all, while the Hell Pit Abomination pushes in as well, hoping to terrify them, but unfortunately just gets caught up and stuck against the Sword Masters of Hoeth. Meanwhile, the Warlord over here again just packed around by these spearmen, trying to take care of these guys, trying to push them aside so that he can go chasing after Teclis, and ultimately decides to use Verminous Valor, a massive explosion that throws these units aside, allowing him to free himself up, getting a speed boost, and then actually chasing after the Lothern Sea Guard, mainly because I want to shut that range support down. Meanwhile, all the way back here, you'll see we do have the Flamespire Phoenix involved in shutting down my Plague Claw Catapult, and I don't actually notice that until a little bit later, so a decent amount of damage does get done to the Plague Claw Catapult, but shortly thereafter, when I do notice, you'll see I turn my Clan Rat Spears around, and I do chase after the Flamespire Phoenix. I want to disengage that unit right away. Meanwhile, the Hell Pit Abomination here, suffering under a lot of range support, surrounded by a lot of units that will cause a decent bit of damage. The Lothern Sea Guard also anti-large, so being engaged in melee is not an ideal situation either for the Hell Pit Abomination. You'll see the Doom Wheel here coming in to try and rescue it, try and save it. I needed to do a lot more work than just 34 kills. It's fully surrounded and a lot of hurt going through, health dropping very quickly as you can see, and ultimately it does die, and out comes a unit of Skaven Slave Spears. So there's that ability from the Hell Pit Abomination. Unfortunately, Skaven Slave Spears are very low on morale, of course, very quick to terrify. They're not going to stick around for very long, while over here you'll see the Doom Wheel is plowing through this unit of Lothern Sea Guard, White Lions of Shrey, Swordmasters of Hoeth. Nothing matters to the Doom Wheel, able to just cut right through them and get a decent bit of hurt done. Meanwhile, the Warlord over here you can see still chasing after Teclis, trying to shut him down, getting bogged down, him and the Assassin both, but both able to do a lot of work. You can see the Warlord, they're diving in after Teclis. Great belly flop, they're tossing Teclis aside, just beating away at him, trying to do whatever is possible, using World's Edge armor just to get that extra armor to make sure he's taking less damage, and Teclis is falling apart very quickly. Trophy Head's doing its work as well, reducing his melee defense and melee attack significantly. The Assassin, meanwhile, ping-ponging between different units, just trying to shut various units down, while over here we do have the Net of a Mintok going down on the Warlord, pinning him in place, preventing that chase, so Teclis is able to get away, routing right now. Meanwhile, you'll see over here we do have these Storm Vermin with halberds trying to chase after the Dragon Princes. Unfortunately, the Dragon Princes, you know, being on horseback, are significantly faster, so not able to close that gap too easily, while the Flamespire Phoenix decides to disengage from the situation, allowing my Plague Claw Catapult to get back on the equipment and start opening fire once again. Meanwhile, over here, the Flamespire Phoenix is going to look for opportunities to fire upon, to dive into, maybe chase after the Doom Wheel. The Doom Wheel doing a lot of work today. Flamespire Phoenix does come in, trying to get some hurt in, but the Doom Wheel is able to just sneak away, doesn't need to get stuck in whatsoever, while over here the Warlord once again using Verminous Valor to shift these spearmen out of his path, and then chases after Teclis once more, who has decided to return to the field, tries to use some magic to keep himself alive, regrowth there, giving some physical resistance and replenishment to hit points, but of course the Warlord is continuing to give chase and is hoping to shut him down once and for all, while down here again the Doom Wheel just having a field day, pushing around, able to get damage done, while you'll see the Skaven Slave Spears here very quickly terrified off the field, the Clan Rats as well, taking a decent amount of damage, but able to terrify the Swordmasters of Hoeth with the assistance of the Assassin as well as the Doom Wheel as well, so nearby. So a lot of work being done here with just a handful of relatively weak units, all things considered, while the Warlord off to the distance there as well, once again being pinned down by these spearmen. You'll notice back here, though, we do have the Storm Vermin with halberds able to finally catch up to this unit of Dragon Princes, but unfortunately a little too late, as they were able to rout my Plague Claw Catapult crew. The Clan Rats with spears, though, able to do a lot of work as well, especially with the assistance of that armor-piercing anti-large damage from the Storm Vermin with halberds. Now, back over here, you'll see Teclis was actually able to completely regenerate his health, at least as far as the cap would allow, and is now trying to get involved once again into melee engagements, while over here the Warlord, upset at all of this ranged fire, is going to go in to try and scare the Lothern Sea Guard off once and for all, tossing these guys aside with his double fists of Warpstone, doing a lot of damage there, trying to terrify them off the field, belly flopping around, also not really worried about the spearmen. They're very low on health, so the Warlord will be able to get a decent bit of damage done there as well, but you will see morale does drop very quickly, and it does give cause for concern. So once again, popping Verminous Valor and belly flopping into the Lothern Sea Guard again, just trying to scare them off the field. Meanwhile, the Doom Wheel here resuming the chase, now going after the White Lions of Shrey over here. The only unit that I think is still much of a threat. They still have some health left, so I want to try and either frighten them off the field or at least cause a decent bit of damage. The Flamespire Phoenix, though, giving chase, not fast enough, too slow. In goes the Doom Wheel, tossing some of these guys aside, and again, Flamespire Phoenix tries to get involved, while over here you'll see I do have the Assassin chasing after Teclis, popping trophy heads, reducing melee defense and melee attack, hoping to finish him off. The Assassin is extremely capable in doing that, hence the name Assassin, while you'll see also I do have the Warlord chasing as well, popping Rally just to make sure leadership doesn't drop as these White Lions of Shrey come charging in. Meanwhile, over here you'll see the Doom Wheel is finally starting to give up as the Flamespire Phoenix does a decent bit of hurt there. Doom Wheel does have to pull away with just 89 points of health left, having to retreat, trying to live to die another day, I guess, while Teclis here, very close to death, starting to rout as the Assassin continues to give chase. That range fire from the Lothern Sea Guard once again just trying to scare the Doom Wheel off, and the Doom Wheel is off the field, but safe. I don't think it's going to come back. The Rat Ogres, meanwhile, were chilling back there for a while, but now able to come back into the fray, trying to dive in and again just cause that damage that'll cause these guys to break. The assassin, meanwhile, terrified by the Flamespire Phoenix, not wanting to stick around and fight, decides to rout, while the Warlord over here as well, surrounded by a bunch of spearmen, surrounded by a lot of units. The White Lines of Trace as well uses Verminous Valor once more to blow them aside, cause a little bit of damage, and again belly flop into some of these Lothern Sea Guard. Great work there by the Warlord, of course, and you'll see here the Flamespire Phoenix now trying to get involved over here against the Warlord. A very precarious situation for my army, but you'll see a lot of these units are willing to fight once more. They are returning to the fray, and I'm trying to be extremely quick, keeping an eye on that rally icon and making sure that these units get involved as quickly as possible while I do try to pull the Warlord away. Again, using rally to keep my leadership up, because if my Warlord decides to retreat at this point or decides to die at this point, my entire army is probably going to rout. Meanwhile, the White Lines of Trace here getting involved while the Rat Ogres are trying to beat at them, trying to take care of them. The Rat Ogres are coming out on top, of course, and the White Lines of Trace are now potentially disengaged, or I guess it's the Rat Ogres that are disengaging to try and get involved against some of these more threatening enemy units. Meanwhile, you'll see over here the Warlord is engaged with that Flamespire Phoenix, trying to stay alive, but also cause a little bit of damage. A very dangerous situation. You'll see Terror does kick in, so the Warlord is not going to want to stick around anymore, while giving chase to Teclis, but Teclis is also right at the edge of the field right now, not going to stick around, so that leadership drop is going to be absolutely massive, but unfortunately, I'm going to face a similar leadership drop. You can see these guys are willing to rout now. The Skaven slaves, of course, not really able to fight on their own, don't really like fighting, I guess, cowards that they are, but the Rat Ogres come through into the Spearmen with a rear charge again, scaring them off, while the Flamespire Phoenix decides to dive in and again try to get involved, try to frighten these units off, try to terrify them off. So it's a very dangerous situation for me. Leadership is extremely low. I need these guys to close the gap as quickly as possible, and you'll see the White Lines of Trace here very close to engaging and intercepting these Storm Vermin with halberds, and they're an important unit. I need them to get on the Flamespire Phoenix, and you'll see here the Rat Ogres as well. Very precarious situation, very low on health, pulling them back to get involved against the White Lines of Trace once more, diving in. They toss these White Lines of Trace side, and again forcing them to rout. The assassin as well now pulling back, using concealment bombs to keep himself hidden, and the concealment bomb actually makes sure that he isn't able to be spotted unless the enemy is extremely close. You can see the Flamespire Phoenix is still not able to see him, pulls over and finally can see him, drops a wake of fire, trying to get my units to rout. Fortunately, though, still very much willing to fight, very much willing to stick around. I have to keep the assassin nearby just to keep morale up with that encouragement capability. You'll see the Wake of Fire continues to drop bombs here, trying to scare off the clan rats with spears. I do separate these guys so they're not clumped up, so they're not able to die in one fell swoop, but you'll see the Flamespire Phoenix here does dive into my assassin once again. Terror kicking in. The assassin does not want to stick around, and much to my dismay, the Lothern Sea Guard decide to get a couple volleys in, and I get concerned that this is going to be the end of me, but it's the Flamespire Phoenix that I'm most worried about. I try to shut it down with both of these anti-large units, and there you have it. The Lothern Sea Guard do decide to shatter, so now it's only the Flamespire Phoenix chasing after my assassin, chasing him off the field, hoping, I think, once again to cause a little bit of leadership damage, remove that encouragement from the field, and then try and sprinkle in some fear and terror and scare these guys off. So that is very much a possibility. This is still not a done day. This is not a done deal. I could still lose here, and the Flamespire Phoenix takes to the air. I have to be very wary of Wake of Fire in case the bombardments come through, looking for an opening, looking for a way to enter into the fray here, get a nice charge through, and just frighten my units off. You'll see the Flamespire Phoenix hovering up for just a little bit too long, morale dropping significantly because it's the only unit left, and it's an airborne unit, dives in, tries to get some damage through, and you'll see the morale does kick up, and it does initially win its engagement, but then it gets fully surrounded. The Storm Vermin with their halberds, armor-piercing anti-large, the Clan Rat spears with shields as well, anti-large, so the Flamespire Phoenix does have to disengage, trying to pull away here, but fully surrounded, obviously, taking a decent amount of damage. You'll see now it's trying to lose its engagement as well, so leadership is going to drop as a result, and slowly but surely the Flamespire Phoenix is giving up on the fight. Slowly but surely it wants to leave as this ominous cloud comes over the battlefield. The Flamespire Phoenix does give up on the fight, shatters, and a Pyrrhic victory for my Skaven. The Assassin and Warlord did a great job completely shutting Teclis down, and both were later helpful in chasing after various units to keep them routing or to finish them off. The Doomwheel can do no wrong, in my opinion, though it was very well shut down with the net of a Mintok at the beginning, could have resulted in a bad day for the Doomwheel. The Hellpit Abomination, meanwhile, was shut down far too easily for its cost, though when it died, it did spawn a unit of Skaven Slave Spears that, I guess, were sort of helpful. The top performers for the High Elves were the White Lions of Shrace and the Swordmasters of Hoeth, both able to take care of Skaven infantry with relative ease. Though the Lothern Sea Guard have very few kills, it's important to keep in mind that they did cause a fair bit of morale damage and damage to my A-bomb too. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content. Game 2 releases very soon, and I have plenty of early access content to share with you. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, cheers.